An aggressive Trump, a defiant India.
मैं जानता हूं व्यक्तिगत रूप से मुझे बहुत बड़ी कीमत चुकानी पड़ेगी, लेकिन मैं इसके लिए तैयार हूं.
And a high-stakes geopolitical game of chess in full swing. This isn't just about the trade deal or the war in Ukraine. This is about Trump not getting his way. This is about dominance. But India has not been falling for Trump's Russian oil theater. So let us ask these questions. Why is India not falling for Trump's tactics? How is Trump being unreasonable? Why is he singling India out over Russian oil? How is his tariff template a trap? And what is the larger geopolitical blowback of his tariff tantrums? This is Shubhangi Sharma and you're watching Fine Point. Let's dive in. Donald Trump's tariff war on India is turning more and more acrimonious by the day. He has been trying to pin the blame for the Ukraine war on India and singling India out for buying Russian oil with a total tariff of 50%. Caught in this attack is the India-US trade deal, disagreements over which have spiraled out of control. Trump vetoed against the deal when he did not find terms favorable enough to his ego and threw Russia into the mix to draw maximum leverage. Meanwhile, India has put up a defiant stand.
व्यक्तिगत रूप से मुझे बहुत बड़ी कीमत चुकानी पड़ेगी, लेकिन मैं इसके लिए तैयार हूं. मेरे देश के किसानों के लिए, मेरे देश के मछुआरों के लिए, मेरे देश के पशुपालकों के लिए आज भारत तैयार है.
India has also pointed towards Trump's hypocrisy, given that the US itself imports uranium and the EU imports vast amounts of energy from Russia. Now, Prime Minister Modi is signaling a change in tack, from connecting with Brazil on the matter to focusing on meetings with Russian and Chinese leaders and continuing the silent treatment of Trump. Let's look at where the tariffs stand. On the 30th of July, Trump went on a Truth Social rant announcing 25% tariffs on India active from August 7th. A week later, he came up with an additional 25% tariffs penalizing India for Russian oil purchases. This tariff will kick in from August 27th, taking the total tariff to a staggering 50%, the highest rate the US has slapped on any other country. India and Brazil top this list of tariff targets. Others include South Africa with 30%, China with 30%, Canada 35%, Switzerland with 39%, and Myanmar with 40%. While Southeast Asian countries face around 19 to 20% tariffs, US allies like the EU, Japan, South Korea, and the UK get off relatively lightly with just 10 to 15%. Even Bangladesh and Pakistan have got off easy with 19 to 20% tariffs. So the high tariff rate on India will have a significant impact on exporters reliant on the US market. But India should be focusing on containing this damage while weighing retaliatory options, and those signals are already here. Trump expected India to buckle under pressure, especially when he tried to shock India with the Russia card. But Prime Minister Narendra Modi is choosing resistance over capitulation. This was a direct message to Washington. When the 50% tariff hike was announced on Wednesday, Modi did not call Trump. Instead, he held a phone call with Brazilian President Lula da Silva. The Brazilian president is exploring a joint front against the tariff aggression, and Prime Minister Modi has signaled that he isn't totally averse to the idea. Both countries are bearing the brunt of Trump's trade war and seem prepared to resist it together. India is weighing retaliation as well. The country has already described the US actions as extremely unfortunate, unfair, unjustified, and unreasonable. This exposes Trump for misreading the situation. Perhaps he did not expect India to call him out. But that's in the past now. India has signaled that it is ready to go the distance. Trump's demands, his methods, and his reasons are overbearing and unreasonable, and India will not incentivize his tantrums by giving in. Russian oil continues to flow into Indian refineries. India continues to hold the line to protect its agri and dairy sectors, which employ about half the country. It is also preparing for a visit by the Russian president this month, and later Prime Minister Modi will visit China for the SCO summit, a first such visit by Modi in 7 years. India is giving the reset with China a cautious but calculated chance. All of this would ruffle feathers in Washington under the current circumstances. But for Trump, that ship has sailed. The Quad summit plans remain in a limbo and will remain so until a breakthrough in India-US ties, which may be linked with a breakthrough in the USA's mediation efforts to end the Ukraine war. That means until a possible meeting between Putin and Trump. Even then, a deal is hard to achieve unless Trump dials down his demands. You see, Trump's current tariff template is a trap. Most nations have stepped into it knowingly, hoping they could get away with it in the interim, especially as they gave one-sided gains to Trump to massage his ego. Trump's deal structure is built on a false premise that he can win by sheer intimidation. It's a lopsided model where countries give and Trump gets optics. India was already offering several concessions: zero tariffs on industrial goods that form 40% of US exports to India. Lower duties on American automobiles and liquor were also part of the package. India also said that it would be buying $25 billion worth of energy purchases. But Trump wants more: full access to Indian agricultural and dairy markets, which would undercut millions of Indian farmers. In return, he offers nothing close to reciprocal market access, keeping substantial tariffs in play. So this is not a negotiation, but rather a form of economic coercion. Now the template goes like this: if you want to make a deal with Trump, you must bring down duties at your end to zero even as Trump keeps his tariffs. But that's not it. You must get ready to make an unrealistic monetary commitment to buy energy from the US, another wildly unrealistic commitment to invest in the US, and another commitment to make defense purchases. The numbers must be massive and flashy. And of course, if you don't have much to give, like Pakistan, throw in your natural resources, whether or not they really exist. How can a serious country engage in these theatrics? Just look at South Korea's $350 billion investment promise. It is largely symbolic, designed to feed Trump's ego, while the structural trade imbalances remain unaddressed. These are verbal handshakes, not legally binding deals. The EU, Japan, and South Korea have received a 15% tariff, which is relatively the best possible outcome after months of friction. But the deals, in the case of the EU and Japan especially, are close to a collapse. Get this: the leaders have gone home to say that the deal is not legally binding. The EU has pledged $600 billion in investments, but does not have a plan to make it happen. Now Trump has sensed this, and he has threatened a 35% blanket tariff if the EU fails to honor its promises. This means that Trump's tariffs are a recurring nightmare for nations, and not even a one-sided deal can make this stop. India sees through this, and that is why Prime Minister Modi will not agree to a one-way street. If Trump's deal-making style is about exaggerated numbers and one-sided trade wins, India is right to stay out of the photo op. A democratic nation of 1.4 billion people will not risk sending the wrong message and putting its future at stake, no matter how bitter the tariff tantrums get. India wants no part in this extortion racket. Perhaps this is why Trump threw Russian oil into the mix, to shock India and change its mind. Recently he thundered, "They don't care how many people in Ukraine are being killed by the Russian war machine. I will be substantially raising the tariff paid by India to the USA." But here's the truth. India buys 36% of Russian crude, but China buys 47%. Yet China is not a target of this penalty. The EU and Turkey continue to buy Russian oil and gas. In fact, EU gets 51% of its liquefied natural gas from Russia. It is also the largest buyer of Russian pipeline gas. Meanwhile, Turkey is the largest importer of Russian petroleum products. But neither of these countries are a target of Trump's penalizing tariffs. It is worth noting that US officials in the past have actually encouraged India to keep buying Russian oil during peak war times to keep global prices stable.
Because we wanted somebody to buy Russian oil at a price cap. That was not a violation or anything. It was actually the design of the policy, because as a commodity, we didn't want oil prices going up.
India's payments to Russia now stand at $120 billion, not insignificant, but far behind China's $197 billion. So why is India the only one being targeted? The Trump administration does not have a clear answer for this. Is it rare earths? Is it the USA's own reliance on Chinese goods? Or is it both? Then why is the burden of Ukraine placed only on India? What's worse is, the USA itself imports uranium from Russia. Does Trump have an answer? Not really.
President,
Thank you.
India says that the U.S. imports Russian uranium, chemicals, fertilizers, while criticizing their energy imports. Your response to that, sir?
I don't know anything about it. I'd have to check, but we'll get back to you on that. Yeah, please.
This isn't about Ukraine. This is about politics of dominance. And it's about Trump's needs to shift the blame for his failures in the Ukraine strategy. India's energy choices have helped keep global oil prices in check, doing a favor to the world, including the US. But tariffs is what it gets in return. By now, you will see that this is a bad faith negotiation with unjustified tactics in use. Trump has exaggerated and lied about Indian tariffs, claimed credit for ending the India-Pakistan war, which he did not, demonized Indian oil purchases while ignoring China's, and he's also used economic blackmail to demand full market access without reciprocity. Meanwhile, America's average effective tariff rate has risen to 17%, up from just 2% last year. Trump wants to replace tax revenues with tariff earnings, but that will hurt US consumers and exporters in the long run. Even the US Congress is waking up. Congressman Gregory Meeks, a senior member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee from the Democratic Party, slammed Trump's tariff tantrum for risking the US-India partnership built over years of diplomacy. Trump wants a submissive India, one that folds under pressure, signs a bad deal, and shows up for a photo op just to show its own humiliation. What he's getting instead is a confident, sovereign nation that's not afraid to say no. India's firm stand today is not just about tariffs, it's about protecting its farmers, safeguarding its economic autonomy, and refusing to be bullied into a rigged game.